board's designated hearing chair, Mr. Canaan, will preside. And before we get to the books in question, I want to share some background with you because we haven't really talked about this in a meeting for a while. But since the parental library book rejection process was initiated a couple of years ago, the district has received 106 formal objections. A committee reviewed each and every one of those files. 44 of the books were retained, 61 were removed. One is still in quarantine. When I use the term quarantine as distinguished from removed, quarantine refers to the removal of the book from the shelf pending completion of the statutory review process. In terms of the process, as I said, each of these objections were reviewed by a committee. Generally speaking, the committee deals with one book. The membership committees are specified in our procedures and guidelines. The membership includes district representatives, school representatives, parents from the school where the book, whose library the book was taken from, and also community members. The committee volunteers are required to undergo a training. I do this online, and then a pool is set up. 170 volunteers have been asked. 92 have served. And another point I want to emphasize is that the committee memberships in terms of the community and parental representatives rotates and is different for each objection. So basically, the district for the past 2 years has had over 100 objections reviewed by a committee. Yeah. I'd like to introduce the participants today. Ms. Jean Moore is the complainant, and then sitting at this table are the district representatives in no particular order. Superintendent Orson, Mike Pagudas, Don Sapp, and Kim Dixon. The format we will follow is that Ms. Moore will present first. She will be allotted 5 minutes a book to present her objections. The staff will then respond to her presentation, and likewise with that 5 minutes per book. The board can ask the presenters questions. Probably be best to wait till the end of their presentations, but that's up to you. But following the presentations, the board will take public comment, and then following the close of public comment, the objections will come back up here. The board will discuss each book separately and vote on each book separately. But with that, I turn it back over to Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Upchurch. So let me first start by welcoming everybody to this hearing. It's hearing now. And as I do, realize this is a hearing about these books. It's not about the process, it's not about the rule, it's not about the statute, it's about these books, and how they are processed, and whether or not this school board wants to accept the superintendent's recommendation or reject it for an individual decision on each book. The books in question are Slaughterhouse 5, Freedom Rider's Diary, Later Gator, and A Stolen Life. Ms. Moore, you may now proceed with your presentation.
Can you hear me okay? Good morning. I'm not interested in telling anyone what their own child can and cannot read. I certainly have no right to do so. But parents do have a right to have their children not be at risk for exposure to adult content while at school. And in fact, that really should be the expectation. Another expectation is that the school district will follow the law. My daughter is a voracious reader and spent a great deal of time in the media center, especially when she was in high school. When I became aware of what was hiding inside the school library, I was concerned about what my daughter might unknowingly stumble upon, and that's what started this journey about 2.5 years ago. Since my first objection in November of 2021, the state of Florida has connected the obscenity laws and Florida statutes to Florida school libraries via House Bill 1467 and then later via House Bill 1069. House Bill 1069 says the school library cannot contain materials that are 1, pornographic or prohibited under statute 847.012, 2, depicts or describes sexual conduct as defined in statute 847.00119, 3, is not suited to student needs and their ability to comprehend the material presented, or 4, is inappropriate for the grade level and age group for which the material is used. It should be noted that Roman numerals 1 through 4 are categorized as individual stipulations. This is further evidence in House Bill 1069 where it states, if the district school board finds that any material meets the requirements under subparagraph A, or that any other material contains prohibited content under subparagraph B1, the school district shall discontinue use of the material. If the district school board finds that any other material contains prohibited content under subparagraph B2 through 4, the school district shall discontinue use of the material for any grade level or age group for which such use is inappropriate and unsuitable. Statute 847.012 says any book, pamphlet, magazine, printed matter, ever reproduced, or sound recording that contains any matter defined in statute 847.001, explicit and detailed verbal descriptions or narrative accounts of sexual assignment or sexual conduct, and that is harmful to minors. Books in the school library cannot depict, describe, or contain narrative accounts of sexual conduct as defined in statute 847.00119, which says sexual conduct means actual or simulated sexual intercourse, deviant sexual intercourse, sexual bestiality, masturbation, or sadomasochistic abuse, actual or simulated lewd exhibition of the genitals, actual physical contact with a person's clothed or unclothed genitals, pubic area, buttocks, or if the person is a female, the breast with the intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of either party, or any act or conduct which constitutes sexual battery or simulates that sexual battery is being or will be committed, and then it excludes a mother breastfeeding her child. I believe the school district and I have a different interpretation of this law. I'm certainly not an attorney, but the language to me is pretty plain. It is illegal for books in the school library to depict, describe, or contain narrative accounts of sexual conduct or sexual excitement. Sexual conduct is a separate category of things that are not allowed in the school library book. It is saying that all actions listed in 847.001/19 are considered sexual conduct, they are seen and they are not allowed. If Roman numeral 2 is not a criterion on its own, why add it to the law? Why close one loophole to create another one? Why add it at all when Florida statute 847.001 is covered under 847.012? I would also argue that any book that contains anything described in 847.00119 has no value for minors, literary or in any other capacity. When we're talking about sexual conduct, there is no out of context. It's either there or it's not. Outside of the obvious sexual content, what else should be restricted from school libraries? What about profanity and other crude and vulgar language? Graphic violence, rape, child molestation and rape, graphic sexual assault, drug use, alcohol use, suicide, and other adult content. It seems that our district doesn't really see other reasons for their titles to be considered inappropriate, but the district cannot show a PG, PG-13 or not rated video or DVD without a parental consent form. R-rated movies are not permitted at all, yet the same content in written form is freely available to students in the library. What makes an R-rated movie? I'm glad that you asked. An R-rated motion picture may include adult themes such as strong or offensive language, discriminatory themes and language, nudity, sex, violence, substance use or abuse, suicide or other traumatic themes, adult activities that adults but not minors may engage in legally, like alcohol use. More than one F-bomb used as an expletive makes an R-rated movie. I do understand that books are not rated the same way movies are, although in this day and age I think they should be. But it per district policy, a PG-13 movie may not be shown to students under 13 years of age and under any circumstances, and no R-rated movies or portions of these movies are permitted to be shown in St. Johns County School District. How can the same content in written form be available to students in the library? How does that make any sense? I don't want to hear about self-selection. To me, that's a deflection from the responsibility of the district to know what's in the library. The parental choice library book restriction form available on the district website says, I wish to take full responsibility for the materials my child checks out of school and media center during the school year. I understand that it's my personal responsibility to explain these restrictions to my child. And it also says I understand that a note will be placed on my child's destiny account regarding this individualized school library access plan. With students going in and out at various times, especially before and after school, who knows which students have a note in the Destiny system? And speaking of the Destiny system, tell me what tools you provide to parents to assist them in making those choices. It's certainly not the Destiny system. Vague dust jacket summaries, no summary at all, inconsistent use of other details or keywords that would help parents identify sensitive content that would help them fill out the form that one of your principals recently called a safeguard. The St. Johns County School District has resisted for years doing anything proactive, such as creating a rating system, a detailed rubric, or anything else other than posting a parent's objection on the website. Other counties in Florida are also going through objection processes. Those details are provided on the Department of Education website. Has anyone thought to review those lists and see what's in our district? Doesn't the media training document that was mandatory for the district to implement say, under suited to student needs and appropriate for age and grade level, to err on the side of caution? I don't see that happening. Your committees and superintendent are not erring on the side of caution. Your committee process is too subjective, your checklist is ineffective, it does not draw clear boundaries around expectations. Your committees are not being adequately informed about what criteria constitutes removal. But back to the issue at hand, and let's look at some examples from these books that were retained by the district and ones that are under appeal today. Later Gator was retained for grades 9 through 12, but removed from Clay, Flagler, Manatee, and Martin counties last school year. Contains references to sexual activity, sexual nudity, profanity, and alcohol use by minors. I'm kind of wired. I just gave Doug his very first blowjob. What? It was going away present since I won't see him for a whole week. I'm so proud of myself. Well, for sure, you can list it right up there with your other accomplishments. Straight A's, honor council, giving head. It wasn't all that fun for me, but I think he really liked it and that made me happy. But my jaw got really tired. So, spit or swallow. I swallowed, but I don't think I'm going to next time. I'll just tell him very politely so he's not offended. I'm still a virgin. Pardon? Well, he didn't make it to completion. Well, he did, but it was before, he squeezed it in you. Maddie, afterward, he was all, oh, so crap, I'm so sorry. Well, yeah, that's the way to blow your wad, Doug. At least he's not a total asshole fuckwad. Doug and Zoe has been going at it in the church basement by now. Think he is going to blow his wad again prematurely, I mean? Who among you on the school board can tell me which pillar of character counts is giving a great blowjob, followed by swallowing the wad and encapsulate? Teenage girls high-fiving themselves for sex acts and losing their virginity. Which pillar does that fall under? Does this support the district's point of view on abstinence? From a Stolen Life, retained for grades 9 through 12, but removed from Martin County last school year, contains aberrant sexual activities involving child molestation, rape, and references to bestiality, sexual nudity, violence, drug abuse, and references to animal cruelty. And keep in mind, these events are happening to an 11-year-old girl. He says first he's going to get me dressed in the way he wants, and then depending on his mood, the rest will consist of me masturbating him, sucking his penis, and me whatever position he desires, and dancing over him while he masturbates. The night seems endless, and I'm very tired. He has lights on, all of them. It makes the room so hot. I have to touch his penis and stroke it up and down. He calls this jacking off. Sometimes he wants me to suck on it too, and I hate it so much. It tastes disgusting. I'm afraid the white stuff, which he said is called cum, will get in my mouth. This goes on and on for a while, with him looking at these books he has. They look like photo albums, but they have kids from magazines cut out in different positions with penises taped on from other magazines. He looks at them and talks dirty to them, using words that are bad, some of which I've never heard before. He tells me to lie down on my back, and part of me is relieved to get it over with. I was dreading it, but want to go to sleep. I'm so tired. He gets on top of me and tells me he's going to talk really dirty to me and for me to not be scared. He says he's still the same person, and he needs to release the monkey on his back. I can't help but cry over silent tears. He fucks me as hard as he can, it seems like. He uses that word a lot. My head is being pushed in between the couch and the pull-out bed. I feel like I can't breathe. He's calling me a fucking whore and a cunt and other things. Real life accounts from the author, story worth telling. However, graphic accounts of child rape is not appropriate for schools and is illegal under Florida Statute 847-00119. 5 of the 8 advisory committee members stated by vote that the book contains sexual conduct under the Florida statute. The media specialist present in the meeting said the book should be removed, yet the group decided to keep it, and I'm still wondering how this book was obtained. From the Freedom Writer's Diary, retained for grades 9 through 12 and removed from Martin County last school year. Contains sexual activity, sexual nudity, profanity and derogatory terms, violence including child abuse and molestation, including racist commentary, alcohol, and drug abuse. I felt his body right next to mine, and his breathing got stronger and stronger. He was touching me in places I didn't know could make me feel so dirty. I didn't move a muscle. I made my body as hard as a rock, as he slowly slid his hand up my shirt, caressing my back and the side of my breasts. As his penis swirled in my mouth, thoughts of the popcorn he promised me ran through my mind. Please get off me, I screamed at the boys who were at least 2 feet taller than me and had extremely deep voices. Shut up, you fucking nigger. Your kind don't belong here, they screamed as they kicked me harder and harder. They said we had to play a game called Jingle Balls. Well, the most popular senior boys were standing in front of us, and they went on to tell me how all the guys were screaming at them and telling them what to do. They said the guys had their balls out of their pants, and the pledges had to kneel in front of them and sing. They told me how they had to sit on the guys' laps and sing to them and even kiss them. Now that I'm so-called popular, I stood in shock listening to the young girls sing jingle balls, jingle all the way, and I couldn't believe it. I watched the pledges on their knees, inches away from the guys, standing in front of them with their balls out of their pants. The freshman girls were singing this song in disgust as the high school participants crowded around to watch. After a couple of minutes, the males were getting frustrated. I didn't know why at first until I heard, the fucking bitches are closing their eyes. Make them open their eyes. The senior girls disregarded their comments and continued watching. When they went through this ceremony 4 years ago, the males were allowed to wipe their balls on the pledges' faces, but this year the girls were spared. I was only 12 years old when my grandmother died from severe burns that were allegedly inflicted upon her by my father. She was burned from head to toe. Allegedly, my father had poured kerosene on her and lit the kitchen stove. She caught fire immediately. When I saw her, she had blisters all over her body, and all her bare hair was burned off. Her skin was black and peeling off. She had tears running down her cheeks, and I could smell her raw, burnt flesh. The book could be called inspiring, a teacher that finds a way to reach students creatively, but is the content right for schools? Gang violence, child molestation, murder, suicide ideation, hazing, profanity, hate speech, the description of the boys with their balls out of their pants, wiping them onto the faces of the girls, on their knees in front of them. 7 of the 8 committee members stated by vote that the book contained content described in 847-00119, yet it was retained by the committee in this report. From Slaughterhouse 5, retained for grades 9 through 12, contains violence including animal cruelty, inexplicit bestiality, and sexual nudity. Weary told Billy about meat tortures he read about or seen in the movies or heard about on the radio, or other meat tortures he himself had invented. One of the inventions was sticking a dentist's drill into a guy's ear. The correct answer turned out to be this. You stake a guy out on an anthill seed in the desert. He's facing upward, and you put honey all over his balls and pepper, and you cut off his eyelids so he has to stare at the sun until he dies. You should have seen what I did to a dog one time. A dog, said Billy. Son of a bitch bit me, so I got me some steak and I got me the spring out of cloth. I cut that spring up into little pieces and I put the points at the end of the pieces. They were sharp as razor blades. I stuck them into the steak way inside. I went past where they had the dog tied up and he went to bite me again. I said to him, come on, doggy, let's be friends. Let's not be enemies anymore. I'm not mad. He believed me. He did. I threw him the steak and he swallowed it down Blood started coming out of his mouth. He started crying and rolled on the ground as though the knives were on the ground, on the outside of him instead of on the inside of him. Then he tried to bite out his own insides. I laughed and I said to him, "You got the right idea now. Tear your own guts out, boy. That's me in there with all those knives." Lazaro was talking to himself about the people he was going to have killed after the war, the rackets he was going to work, and the women he was going to make fucking whether they wanted to or not. In my prison cell I sit with my britches full of shit, and my balls are bouncing gently on the floor. And I see the bloody snag when she bit me in the back, and I'll never fuck a pole off anymore. This one is supposedly a classic, but that doesn't mean it's right for schools. Specifically, the account I just read about what happened to the dog is especially disturbing. And how many iterations of the word fuck is acceptable to this school board? 7 of the 8 committee members stated by vote that the book has content described in statute 847-001-19, yet it was retained by the committee and Mr. Forson. Determining that a book is not appropriate for a school library is not book banning. All these books are widely available elsewhere. Even though a student can put down any book that might offend or make a student feel uncomfortable, anything that is read cannot be unread. One of the wonderful things about reading is that our minds are able to create detailed imagery from the words. So not only can the words not be read, but also the images created remain. Robert Bork is called a brilliant legal mind and a jurist who commented on censorship in the First Amendment. He said this in his book, Slouching Toward Gomorrah. First Amendment jurisprudence has shifted from the protection of the exhibition of ideas toward the protection of self-expression, however lewd, obscene, or profane. Yet it is clear that if there is something special about speech, something that warrants a constitutional guarantee, it is the capacity of speech to communicate ideas. The only difference between speech and other behavior is speech's capacity to communicate ideas and the effort to reach varieties of truth. Celebration in song of the ripping of vaginas or forced oral sex, or stories depicting the kidnapping, mutilation, raping, and murder of children does not to anyone with a degree of common sense qualify as ideas, end quote. As a culture, we've lost our way. Graphic sexual literature prized as appropriate for young people is a symptom of a sick society. It is a foregone conclusion that sex acts, profanity, and other adult content does not belong in front of children, let alone in schools, and that adult mature content is for adults. It's discouraging to hear comments from committee members that say current community standards are okay with sexualized content for students. The purpose of the school library is first and foremost to enrich and support the educational programs of the school. Books laced with hate, violence, profanity, rape, suicide, alcohol use and abuse, drug use and abuse, graphic sex, child rape, and content that glorifies teen sex provided by the school district does not enrich the educational experience of children. In fact, I believe it to be the opposite. Children are being given access to books that shatter their morality and mental health, cause addictions, and create an appetite for sex and violence. Student safety is supposed to be one of your highest priorities, and that should include keeping students safe from illegal content in the media center. The content in question this morning contains explicit, graphic, violent, and disturbing scenarios. As for the evidence provided, in my opinion, they are in violation of House Bill 1069, subparagraph B2, Florida Statute 847-001-19. Also, the restrictions for media are not consistently applied to include all media formats. R-rated written materials are not appropriate for school libraries in the same way R-rated movies are not appropriate to be shown to students and should be removed from the collection. Parents and community members deserve to know exactly what criteria is used to determine inappropriate content. If sexual conduct, profanity, violence, and other obscenities does not qualify as inappropriate,